Pancho Sanchez.
And we are on. I'm Kay Thompson. This is Kay Thompson Live, and that music really makes me dance, Eric. It's like the days of the flame. How are you, Eric Payne?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm Eric Payne. Welcome to the Kay Thompson Live show on the GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head. I don't have nothing else to say. I'm just trying to come up with something.
Yeah, I often wonder about that. Listen to the voices of your head. I hear voices all the time. And sometimes they don't say such nice things, especially about this case down there in Florida. You know, who's his name? Dunn shooting a teenager, which we want to get to in a minute. And then, you know, the whole Zimmerman case. And those things are, you know, coming together in my mind.
Right.
And I think there's going to be more movements than ever. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to a young man out there in the, you know, in the area prior to coming into the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And things are really, really, I don't know, sometimes I think they're taking a backward turn, Eric. What about you?
It certainly seems like that, but at least this guy got convicted. So I guess that's a little bit of progress. People are upset that he didn't get convicted of murder, but he got convicted of attempted murder. You know, it's just comical now what these people come up with when they try to get around giving black people justice. I just am amused at finding the various different ways of which they try to deny us justice and have some backwards kind of thing and act like they're not racist when they really are racist and say people could have whatever kind of freedom of speech they could have. So you got the Ted Nugents out there and the Texas governors who want to, they're just full of it.
What did that idiot say about the president?
He called him a mongrel, half-breed, or whatever. I don't know. He went straight racist. He went to 1955 racist.
Even prior to that.
He went back.
Yeah.
The mongrel.
Yeah.
So that pretty much tells everybody, should tell everybody that Ted Nugent is a racist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to dub him, excuse my language, Ma, the scum called Ted Nugent.
Right. Absolutely.
That
I agree
shall
with
be
you.
Forever your name, Ted Nugent.
And you know, I think it's amazing.
Given to you by Eric Payne.
Okay. And your mother agrees with you on that. You know, anytime you have, you know, people actually referring to the president of the country and with terms of that, you know, they deserve any kind of name you can give them.
Right.
But I don't know why in the world some of these people feel that this is not going to explode, you know, pretty soon. I mean, people, you know, of color are, you know, the numbers getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And all people want is to be treated fairly. You know,
there's some people that don't think that people should be treated fairly.
Yeah, and the people in some southern states, and not even in the southern states, you know, they're living on the edge.
They're losing their mind.
Yeah.
They can't stand it.
Pretty soon something's going to happen.
President, they're just losing their mind.
Yeah, they can't stand it. Isn't that amazing?
And I think that they should just come out and say it. I don't like him because he's black. Instead of going through all these conniptions to try to act like they're not racist and hateful and be be what
these moronic names that they can think of.
It's whatever. Just be what you are. You're a racist.
Say it.
Be racist. Come out and say, I'm racist. I don't like him. He's and I'm not going for it. Then I would respect you. I said,
but just watch your back while you're walking.
No, I mean, it's not watch your back.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about those people who are doing that kind of thing.
It's not them that have to watch your back. I just respect you if you come out and say, I don't like him because he's black and I'm a racist, as opposed to try and hide behind the Sarah Palin's, Bill O'Reilly's, almost the entire crew at Fox. They're all racist, and they get a few house Negroes to be on these networks to toe the line for them, like always. But bottom line is you're always going to be racist. We've dealt with you before. We know how to deal with you. We recognize you, see you when you're coming. So come on with it. You ain't got nothing new, devils.
I know one thing. They're going to have to do something. Because a lot of people are getting so angry and so fed up, you know. And when you have that kind of anger and some building and building and building, you know, something is bound to explode. So instead of causing, you know, this kind of thing that's been going on for so long, if you look at the film, in fact, let me say something. I recommend that everyone see the film 12 Years of Slavery. Was that the name of it?
12 Years a Slave.
12 Years a Slave.
Right.
And you have to see this to understand exactly what had happened to African Americans, in the early days when we first came here.
Right.
Okay, so it's not treated fairly, of course, treated like animals.
Treated fairly, yeah, treated
You
like
know, killings, hangings, and all that sort of thing, and this brings it out.
Barbaric treatment.
Of course it was, and it's just not fair, and it makes you want to say a few nasty words every time you think about this kind of thing. To call the president of the United States by a name like that man doesn't have a brain in his head to do that.
Yeah, no, who cares what that guy says? I mean, these people there's pure evil that lies deep within their soul.
Yep.
If they have one.
Yep.
And they just can't stand to see other people have their rights. They can't stand to see other people live a full and productive life. And so, you're right in the fact that things are bubbling up, but
sure
they should be aware that when they bubble, it ain't gonna be bubbling just in one direction. So it's gonna be in both directions.
Yeah.
So, right on for them to express. They have their freedom of speech. So do we, and we have our Second Amendment rights just like they do. So I say right on with it.
Okay. All right. We are supposed to be also joined by Wayne Gilman, former director of WLIB Radio.
That's
He's now a member of the team here.
Right.
But with this weather so terrible, and with the traffic so terrible, the snow's still there, the streets are still crowded. I mean, it's really awful out there. And I'm telling people to really, really be careful, especially stepping, when you're going, just stepping off a curb and you may be stepping in what you think is water. Remember the lady who went straight down because there was a hole? I think that was
today.
That was on television news today on one of the channels.
She went straight down. There was just a big hole in
the
ground.
That's right.
It's kind of like a cartoon or something.
Yeah. But she was yelling and she was okay. But the point is, if she hadn't been screaming and yelling, I don't think anybody would have heard her. I'm going to go back to that story. When we get some time to go into it.
Let me see if I can bring that up on the internet.
Find out exactly what happened to her.
So it was a puddle.
Yeah.
And she stepped in the puddle.
Yeah.
And she kept going down. And you're saying they heard her falling?
Yeah.
Is that what
and
happened?
I don't know if the story was coming out of New York or cross country or whatever.
Okay.
But I did hear it on the radio today. And as a matter of fact, I know maybe Wayne Gilman will be calling in. We hope he's going to be calling in. Because he had a few things that he wanted to talk about also. I have to give Al Sharpton, Reverend Al, a lot of credit, because he is keeping these stories going on. And as I'd like to suggest that he, think about running for office himself. He certainly has a lot of information. He has a lot of sensitivity. He goes back a long time, when things were really, really bad in New York. And I did, too, at the same time. That's where I met him, when I was on WLIB Radio.
Right. Now, you met Al Sharpton when he was supposed to come in and be interviewed about something. Is that the story? How does that
No, that was about a story that came and went.
So how did you meet Al Sharpton?
When he was on the air, I think during the Tawana Brola case. But, that's a whole another story. And
But you met him?
During that time, because he wanted to come on the air. As a matter of fact, I heard of him through Bob Law. And, Bob Lowe was doing Night Talk on WWRL, and he used to be a child minister, as a matter of fact. And I think I saw him in somebody had some film or something, and I saw him preaching. And what a preacher he is. But now he's grown to the point where he ran for office. He is extremely bright, extremely intelligent, and he really goes to bat with a lot of these things that are not just, And we really admire him. So every time I watch him every night.
Well, it's a good thing that Reverend Al has that show to bring issues that are important to black people to the forefront.
Extremely
MSNBC
important.
does that anyway, but to have some black hosts on, now they're having Joy Reid on.
Yeah.
And she's going to be on as a host on there, which is good for her. So
Absolutely.
It's good to have an African-American perspective. They have a pretty fair number of people on there to give it that perspective.
MSNBC, I like.
It's pretty
Melissa Harris Perry and a few other people. Right. Yeah. Rachel Maddow. Talking about Rachel Maddow, the story about the GW George Washington Bridge fiasco.
Right.
Being from New Jersey, that's still going on naturally.
Right.
And the people around Governor Christie, it seems to me that they are not going to be giving the documentation that they should be giving to the government.
Mm-hmm.
Investigating this whole thing. That is still going on.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I'm sorry.
About Governor Christie and the GW Bridge with this story keep going on. It's getting worse and worse, as
Right.
time goes on.
Right. I think that we don't know the end of it. I'm sorry. I was someplace else. I was reading a story on the internet, and you kind of I thought you were going to keep rolling with that. But my opinion about Governor Christie is that it seems that it keeps going, and there's probably, I'm pretty sure it seems that he knew what was going on, and they're trying to cover their tracks. One of his people, this guy O'Toole, is on the committee that's going to look into the is conducting the investigation. So that kind of tells me that if one of his people who wasn't involved in the kind of chain of emails is on the investigating committee, then we can expect that there's probably not going to be the most honest investigating going on. At least from him, I would urge the other members to watch out for that guy trying to hide information, and I think they're probably going to be really looking at him, keeping a close eye on him to make sure that he doesn't withhold any information, because I wouldn't be surprised if any of Chris Christie's his people, they've already tried to do some of the things they do, and it looks like to me that he is, he's involved in it, to me, at least anyway.
And you wonder about the political motivations of Christie, but we all know what the political motivations are. I think that he will not be president. I hope that he will not be president.
Yeah,
because this is too suspicious. You're going to close the largest bridge just about in the world, and you don't know anything about it, and yet you're the governor of the state. You've got to be kidding me.
That's right.
And then there was the story about, the tunnel. There was a talk about a tunnel being built that would connect, a new tunnel that would connect New Jersey and New York. And there was money that was earmarked for that, I understand, and I understand according to, I think it was the Star Ledger that had that in the paper, that he stopped that. He just completely stopped it. Now the money that was involved, I think it was somewhere in the millions or billions. I'm not sure exactly.
Right.
But I remember hearing about it because Gus was talking about it, and he was saying that a lot of the black construction companies that they wanted to be a part of it. In other words, they were looking to get contracts to help with the building. I mean, to get the contracts to hire their people to also work on this connecting tunnel. And remember, that stopped because that's where 21, it was now.
I don't know. I wasn't here at the time.
Oh, that's right.
I had to take your.
But Route 21 off of Route 3, going into Secaucus and a number of other places.
Right. So I remember the story, hearing about the story that the federal government was part of an infrastructure deal to start rebuilding some of the infrastructure, bridges and tunnels and roads that we have in the country, and this was part of that program.
Yep.
And money was being provided for it, and Christie, like several other Republican congressmen, decided to reject the money, primarily because it was coming from Barack Obama. Because these were things that none of these states had to pay for, and it was to help their infrastructure. And some of these governors actually, just to cut off the spite, the citizens of their state, they decided, not to accept the money. And so, you've really got to hate the president if you're going to put hardship on the residents of your state or your area. You've really got to hate him. And it's clear that they really, really hate him, because even when he tries to come with honey and gold, they don't want it.
Guess what, everybody?
Yeah.
Obama has just turned white, we heard. So what are you going to do now?
Oh, okay, yeah.
1 minute to break, Eric.
Right.
But really, I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous. That stand your ground law, if it is the law, has got to be changed. Because this man just murdered this man. His name is Michael Dunn, I think it is. And this is the case that took place in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
He shot this kid. He murdered this kid.
Right.
Because the kid was playing loud music with 3 other people. What,
Okay. Well, let's go to a real break
Yeah,
real
we
quick.
gotta go for
We'll
a
be
break.
back on the other side here on the GoPro Radio Network with the K Thompson Live Show. I'm Eric Payne, and your host, K Thompson, is over there.
And we will be right back. Stay with us,
All
everyone.
right.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have a product or a service, a talent or something important to say, now's your chance to have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out, a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We'll help you to grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 today or visit www.goproradio.com and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your very own show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
Okay, we are back. Kay Thompson here, and
Eric Payne. I'm just reading on the internet,
yeah,
on the website from MSNBC, where they are talking about the Michael Nunn.
I think that's
His
done.
name is Michael Dunn, the Loud Music murder trial.
Right.
And it says juror number 4, who was only identified by her first name Valerie, told ABC News in an interview this week she believes that Dunn got away with murder,
Yep.
and the majority of other jurors wanted to convict Dunn on the murder charge in the shooting death of Jordan Davis. One of the jurors in the so-called Loud Music trial said the jury deadlocked on the charge of first-degree murder because 3 other jurors believed Michael Dunn had acted in self-defense. So, like I said, to me, it's progress because they convicted this guy. Because normally you know how they do. They just like to let people off for shooting black kids. That seems to be what they like to do in this country, particularly in Florida, where they'll arrest the black people that try to use the same law. Black people, you know better than that. You know better than that. Stop trying to use the same laws that's made for them white people.
That's
You know you're not going to get the same treatment. Let's talk about the sister who shot in the air for the abusive husband and got like life in prison or some old wildness. Or I just heard about a veteran in Florida who shot somebody in the leg, self-defense, and didn't get the same treatment that some of these white folks are getting. So stop thinking that you are a first-class citizen in Florida.
But Eric,
at least the guy's going to jail. I can understand everybody getting mad that he didn't get convicted of murder. At least he's going to jail. You know, he sounds relatively nutty from some of the conversations he's having anyway. So.
Yeah, and he's probably in shock that he was even arrested.
He's not coming. Yeah, good.
But you know one thing? There's something called an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
That's right.
You see, and this stuff is going along. So, as I said, there's going to be something happening that is not going to be pleasant.
It's been
and
happening.
it's because of all this stuff that, African American people and minority people, Latino people, also going through this whole same thing over and over and over again. And I don't know how in the world it's going to be changed. Because really what's happening is that with these nuts out here calling the president names and everything, it seems like things are absolutely getting worse.
So he got found guilty of 3 counts of second-degree attempted murder of the other teens because he shot and sprayed the car and shooting firearm into the air. That's what but he wasn't. They're comical. You have to laugh at them.
Sounds
that
like
they're
cartoon.
evil genius because they keep coming up with new ways to make up the law, change the law, dodge the law. Man, they're remarkable people. God bless them.
Yeah, well, I
And
wouldn't
his
go that
ass
far.
is going to jail. That's when you want to call up and leave one of those prank phone calls on somebody's answering machine and just start laughing. Take
No, it's
your
very
ass to
depressing.
jail.
Yeah, it's very, very depressing. One thing before we go on anywhere, I want to talk about, a guest that we're going to be having on the show, and his name is Professor, what is his name? Darrell Moore, Professor Darrell Moore out there at William Patterson College.
Okay,
And Darrell, as a matter of fact, was in my 6th grade class.
I see.
And he is now the head of a very important department out there at William Patterson College. And he is also an artist. He is a designer.
Right.
I know. I'm
'Cause
doing
that
something
hurt.
here. Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah. Anyway, he is head of this department of communication design. And he has a BFA in art education. He has been to China. He has worked for the Chinese education at Chinese colleges. He's been to all over the world. And he does architectural design. And I brought this book. Sorry. Listen, the wires are all over the place. Sorry about that. But anyway, if you look at this, Eric, and I don't think you've seen it. Anyway, I'm going to be talking to him. We are going to be talking to him, very shortly, because this is a very unique,
Right.
thing that he does. And as a matter of fact, I think in terms of when he was young, he was
We're probably going to
probably
be talking to him a little bit another episode.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
An upcoming episode is what
Yeah.
you mean to say. Okay.
That's right. And I think in terms of people who used to draw and do graffiti art, and I seem to remember of him doodling,
Oh, really?
in the classroom. Yeah, sometimes you have students that are, really unique, and you always remember them, And so he has quite a background, and we're going to be talking to him about his career and about what he's doing out there at the college, because he set up a few very interesting departments. And so those people who are interested in art and creative design and illustrations and, building architectural buildings and whatnot, I'm doing the designs, all that kind of thing. Really fascinating. So we're going to be talking about him in the very near future. And we're also going to be talking to Wayne Gilman. He can't get through right now because there is something wrong with our blog, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that we were having trouble about our phones and whatnot?
Yeah. So another thing I want to talk about today is also that you had mentioned that Jordan Davis and who was his parents and the parents of Trayvon Martin are kind of forming an alliance, some sort of an alliance.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's what you heard about it.
Yeah.
Is there anything
new
any
about
other
that?
details about
No,
it
I
that
don't
you-
have any other details. I think that was just mentioned on one of the stations on television, and that they were going to be meeting or something like that.
Right.
But
right.
we'll have to get more information to check the accuracy of that.
I
But
see.
that it makes sense.
Mhm.
It really makes sense because this people have got to be made more aware to stand up and be counted, and they are. And I don't know. It's just so annoying. It seems like the country's going backwards.
Yeah.
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 Because didn't Governor Romney have something to do with one of these people? I don't know if it was Dunn or somebody. Oh, Rick, the guy who called Obama a name.
Okay.
I think
Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
I think Romney. He might have been a supporter of Ted Nugent's. Ted Nugent might have been a supporter of Mitt Romney's. Yeah. That's. So I might have heard something like that. But we also have the president. That's he's trying to make some moves in terms of getting people kind of switch gears a little bit in terms of getting people their minimum wage.
Yes.
And that's something that he's trying to do it by himself if he can, by getting the government workers a minimum wage contract. Raising their minimum wage up to $10.10 an hour, which is not a lot of money, and it's just bewildering how some people could think that people don't deserve a minimum wage in this country, a livable wage actually, which is just kind of really bizarre to me, and I don't really understand how some people think that's necessary or just allow people to have a decent lifestyle.
Yeah. And also Obamacare.
Right.
Now more people are signing on to Obamacare.
Right.
And in a few years, they're going to find out how necessary that this legislation was and is. And probably more people will sign up for it because people will be able to afford health care.
Right.
And it's a shame to think that in a country so great that people can actually be sick and not have the money, for good health care.
Right.
And to not have the money to even go into a hospital when they need hospitalization.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable that still in this day and age, people are fighting just to have, like you said, health care and be able to stay well and healthy. That's one of the most bizarre things that I find, at least anyway. Yeah. So so the president is continuing to fight for that, and have a lot of crazy things going on over there overseas right about now in the Ukraine, and we're hoping that it works out okay, and they kind of come to some kind of truce over there, and also we've had the Olympics on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was really big fun to watch. I have to be honest. I kept watching to see if there were any black people involved.
Right.
Okay, and of course it was the girls. The bobsled team. I think they came in 29 or something like out of 30, but they were there and they did try. And one of them was a former runner.
Right.
Yeah. So I got a kick out of seeing a black face. Okay,
Right.
I like to see that because of the fact that, the whole world is not white. I know I'm so angry. I am angry because of what's going on, with the government and with this guy Dunn in Texas and also still Zimmerman.
Dunn.
He's still.
Dunn is in Florida.
Dunn is in Florida. I thought that was
Texas. Texas is Ted Nugent, and that governor Abbott, who has Ted Nugent as a supporter.
Yeah.
That's taking place in Texas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what they seem to be trying to do is they always want to say the worst things possible. They always, in attempting to claim that they want to bring the world together, but they align themselves with the most extreme people that say the most insulting, divisive things. And that's kind of the unbelievable part of what some of these people who are, they say they're Republicans, Tea Party Republicans, but then to have people that might be African Americans or other people that be a part of this group that basically hates different racial groups and categories is really kind of hard to believe, because they don't really speak out for the interests of people of color. They barely speak out for the interests of people that are hardworking people and people that are just trying to make a living. So it's just bizarre that some people are so hateful of the president because he's black that they're not going to attempt or not even going to be open to the benefits that they might get from some of the programs that he's trying to put forth.
Yeah, they're willing to not do anything, to have people take advantage of some of these things. And they don't realize that they're killing themselves.
Right.
Because what, Obamacare?
Right.
Who doesn't want health insurance?
That's true.
Okay, that's insane.
That's true.
And then what's the other thing that he had? Oh, the people getting the necessary fare for, the amount of money that they, need to, to pay on their jobs, different salaries, and an upswing in the amount of money that they're getting. What is it, from $8 to an hour to $10 or something? That isn't a lot,
right? But
it's certainly a move toward, what's happening with people. You've got to have a wage, you've got to live,
right?
And how in the world can people work and not afford health care? How in the world can they work and not even afford to, pay for lunch in their child's school or something? I'll tell you another thing. We all have to start being very much politically aware.
Right.
A lot of the people in the black community are politically aware, but we do need, a big movement on making people politically aware and how important it is for them to vote and be involved with the political process so these things can be changed and changed for good. And also everybody else will benefit. Whites will benefit. Minorities will benefit. So.
Yeah. The people need to become aware of the process and to become aware that, it's not just the presidential elections that are important ones, and that they should be sure to get out and vote in and take part in.
Yeah.
But it's also the ones for Congress,
Yeah. The local elections.
Congress people, and the not well. Those are the federal elections, but also the midterm elections is what I'm talking about. The ones for Congress, for senator, things like that, and then of course, obviously, local elections, but and also get involved in your state-wide elections for your assembly people and your state senators, because that's where a lot of this legislation is coming from the states. It's coming from the states. So we're gonna we have to go to a break really quickly, but we'll be right back on the other side of this. Stay with us on the K. Thompson Live Show.
GoPro Radio, the fastest growing network in the galaxy, is leaner and meaner with a new attitude, new technology, and a brand new lineup. Tune in and get wired every Wednesday, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern with the BCS Experience featuring Byron C. Saunders, formerly of New York City's WBAI. Then at 6 p.m., it's the Black Agenda TV Express featuring sought-out political commentator Glenn Ford, formerly of America's Black Forum. Then at 8 p.m., it's time for K. Thompson Live with the legendary radio host K. Thompson of Inner City Broadcasting's WLIB and her son, renowned actor Eric Payne, who starred in such films as Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, Drop Squad, and many more. Then, at 9 p.m., it's Food Rap, featuring Nina Markel, a.k.a. the unofficial mayor of Jersey City, and former Viacom marketing guru Shauna Glover. Last but not least, at 10 p.m. Eastern, it's the Sexy Party Show with the bad boy of dating Mr. Locario of I Love New York fame and his partner in crime, Miles Cunningham. So get wired every Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern only on the GoPro Radio Network, www.goproradio.com. Listen to the voices in your head.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
And we're back. Welcome back to the K. Thompson Live Show on the GoPro Radio Network. My name is Eric Payne.
And I'm K. Thompson.
And we're back on the K. Thompson Live Show. Just to finish the thought that I was making before the break was that, people need to get involved in these statewide elections, because that's where a lot of this legislation, a lot of this voter ID legislation is coming out of the state legislators, out of state representatives introducing some of this very conservative and restricting legislation, like obviously North Carolina is leading the way in terms of the things they're doing in terms of cutting back on voters' rights. So people really need to be aware now that a lot of this stuff is happening on a state level. Get involved there and really get active. The Tea Party, for whatever reason, they've been able to spark and tap into people's fear, people's hate. And once they've done that, they've been able to mobilize people. So we, on the other side, need to tap into some sort of anger, some sort of a reason that we need to find out, or can have our reason for living, or our reason for being so passionate about some of the issues that we care about.
And why is it that people are not really being involved with the political process? Some people, they may be aware of an election going on, but for instance, people really don't understand that whole political system.
Right.
You vote for someone in your area, either your district person running for office in your district, to represent you, to pass laws that are favorable to your community in general.
Right.
For instance, take Newark. You have the mayor, and under the mayor you have the councilman, right? And then under the councilman you have the district leaders. And then you have people in the community who are working in politics.
Right.
And in order for you to have a voice in what's happening and all these different subjects that we're so concerned about, you have to vote.
Right.
And a lot of people, if you haven't voted, don't wait for an election. Go up to the city hall or wherever you have to go through and vote. Not vote, but register to vote and be prepared for the next election coming in your district,
right,
or in your area. Then you're standing up to be counted.
Right.
If you don't do that, then you can't really complain.
That's true.
You know, also, some people should take a trip to Trenton. Go and see what the people are doing down there.
Mm-hmm.
Go see the state legislator and find in this legislature. You can actually sit in on sessions, by the way.
Right. A lot of people don't realize you can sit and watch the General Assembly and the Senate, and you could observe them sit up in the gallery and watch how the laws are made in the state capitol. So that's an interesting thing. All you have to do is probably go to newjersey.gov, and you can probably get information about how to do those things. So people have to realize you got to get involved. I mean, there are people that are banking on the fact that people don't get involved.
Exactly.
They want to minimize and bring down the number of people that are active in the political process, that are active in the in these issues of the day that determine everybody's lives that live in this country.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't realize that. It's interesting that when this country was first developed or first founded, if you can call it that, people began to build and form a structure, a society on a foundation. And it's my belief that in some of those points the foundation was crooked. Some of the parts of the foundation weren't as equal and as even. And I'm talking about the parts of the foundation that promoted slavery, the parts of the foundation that promoted racism, the parts of the foundation that promoted the oppression of people who are less well off than other people, the poor, promoted the oppression of the poor by the rich or the more wealthy. So those parts of the foundation that this country was built on are crooked. And so what happens with the foundation, when the rest of the house and things get built upon the foundation, when you have that part of the foundation is crooked, everything else is going to be crooked.
Yeah.
So that's why you have 400 years of black people being slaves and never really getting an opportunity to come fully out of the effects and ramifications of slavery. People being poor, cyclical poverty in people's lives, generational poverty. So that's why you have all of these things and these systems that are in place, built in certain parts upon a crooked foundation.
Yeah.
The foundation of racism, which fostered the foundation of the law enforcement, the criminal justice system, which is a crooked foundation that was built on the prejudice and the controlling of people of color. So.
And that only changed because we started voting.
Right, but as time went on, that foundation got thicker and thicker, and those bad, crooked parts of the foundation, they got thicker and thicker as well. So you really have to dismantle the foundation,
piece by piece.
These certain pieces, and correct those things. And what happens, what I've noticed in this short time I've been alive, is that things just get built upon a crooked foundation. They keep layering it and layering it over. It's like a bad paint job in a house. People just keep painting.
Well, people
a whole bunch
are
of
really
coats of paint over a wall until you get away from what's really.
Yeah, people really have to realize that we are the overseers, and that we are our lives. Are in really our own hands, our destiny.
Oh, you mean we're the overseers of our own lives?
Yeah, sure.
I see. Okay.
And what you should do is, really. Well, how can we improve on this? Well, you can be involved in the process.
Right.
You can be involved in the governmental process.
Right.
You find out what a mayor does. You find out what a councilman does. You find out what a district leader does. And then you think if you can make an impression, or if you are interested in this fascinating area of politics, because politics makes the world go round. And if you want to be one of those people to be involved in your own life,
right.
Then it's necessary for you to get out the vote yourself, get other people to vote, find out about the different issues that are being discussed. If you know an issue that is not being discussed, then you have somebody in your district, in your area, to take that problem to and have them act on it.
Right.
And if they don't act on it, then you form a little group of your own, and you go to see that person, whether it's a districtman or an assemblyman or whoever.
Right.
And you make your complaint and you say, this is what we want done.
Right.
And since we are voters and since we are paying our taxes, we have the right to speak out.
Right.
Period.
Right. Well, that's getting involved and active in your community. A lot of people, unfortunately, and this is what I'm talking about the foundation, those crooked parts of the foundation, those wrinkles in the ointment, so to speak, that just get glossed over, and they get bigger and bigger. It's like a bad spot, like I said, on something. It just gets bigger and bigger, and it gets to the point where people that are just trying to survive and make a living every day to provide for their family and put food on the table, the foundation, there's so many things that they have to overcome on a daily basis that they don't have time to get involved in the community events, because they might have 2 or 3 jobs that they have to do to feed their family, so they don't have time to go to a community meeting. So therefore, they can't make their needs and their wants and their desires heard at this community meeting. So some of those things just keep going, and people are just getting a rut where they can just barely survive, and that's what it seems that's what Barack Obama's trying to attack. Yeah. That people shouldn't have to work all their lives and work every day and still be in poverty.
Exactly.
But there are certain people in this system called capitalism that have benefited from the fact that people just never get over the hump. Yeah. That they just want people to pay a little bit. But if they can get that person paying them a little bit for the duration of their life, then they're reaping the benefits of someone else's labor. And it's kind of a crazy system, the capitalist system that you kind of are able to exploit the labors of somebody else or bargain with them to pay them for their labor, but it lends itself to such exploitation, I guess is basically the point I'm trying to get to. And some people just never able to get over that hump. They're never able to achieve because the people that fall into that 1% category come up with different ways to try and tax society, make the taxpayer pay for these things. You have, these CEOs of these Fortune 500 companies that are getting these crazy bonus and these pension payouts while they're making money for their shareholders, and the average taxpayer on the street is paying more taxes, and these people that are making billions of dollars are paying less taxes.
And they're working, and when they work, they're not even making enough money, to feed the families.
Right.
So that's what's so, strange about it.
It's a system that just perpetuates itself. Yeah. It's just a vicious cycle. So there needs to be some kind of break in this system, and maybe if we address something as simple, or not really simple, but a political issue like the Citizens United decision that the Supreme Court made a couple of years ago, where it deemed corporations as people and said corporations could make donations just like an individual. If we start to dismantle that, then we can hopefully get away from the corporations running everything, and the corporations giving certain politicians their talking points and things like that, which is a fact that a lot of these politicians have talking points that are basically written for them by corporations and lobbyists and people who have moneyed interests. So we need to have people that are going to get away from that and are not going to bow down to the almighty dollar.
And you know what I found too, Eric? I found that there are some people who would like to be involved in politics, but they don't know how.
Right.
And they don't know where to go, and they don't know who to call.
Right.
It's going to take a little bit of research. I mean, if you go to your local library, find out who represents your area where you live.
Right.
You may have heard the term district leader. You may have heard the term community leader.
Right.
Well, what you can do is to go to those people, or a lot of people may not have, computers or anything, but certainly they can, call the library to find out. There are libraries all over, and they have to find out exactly what's going on. And it's easy. I'm trying to think, is it easy for people? I don't know if it's easy for them to find out. But they have to ask questions. There's no doubt about it. For instance, the people who go to church. Okay, now most churches I know are really politically involved, and they're politically active. All right, so there you have large congregations. So if you don't know how to do something, go to your local church. Talk to people in the local church. Talk to people who are involved in different associations and organizations. Call us here on, Blog Talk Radio. Listen to the radio. Listen to the programs that you want to, then find out.
Right.
There's such a thing as self-educating. Okay? So if you want to find out things, there are so many things at your fingertips.
That's right.
For instance, now, talking about self-education, one thing, I was watching television the other day, and there were, I don't even remember what program it was, but it was a talk program. And They were talking to people in the audience, and the audience was mixed, and somebody was saying out of the audience, well, why do we have to find out about black history?
Right.
Okay, and this was a black person asking that.
Right.
You know, and I said, boy, if I was on that show, you know, I would tell her, don't you exist?
Right.
You know, are you here? Are you living? Are you breathing?
Right.
Don't you exist in this world? You know, don't you have something to say about your government, about what happens to you?
Right. Right.
Ayana's making the sign, the break sign for us.
1 minute to break.
No, she's going like this right now. We will be.
Go to a break right now.
Yeah. Okay. We will be right back. I'm Kay Thompson, and Kay Thompson Live with
Eric Payne. We'll be right back.
You want to know the truth, folks? Do you really want to know the truth? Well, perhaps you can't handle the truth. But if you can listen to GoPro Radio. Tune in at www.goproradio.com. Now, have I made myself clear?
GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head. I know I do.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have a product or service, a talent or something important to say, now's your chance to have your own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We'll help you to grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 today or visit www.goproradio.com and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your own radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio. Listen to the voices in your head.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
And we're back, Kay Thompson Live here on GoPro Radio. You know, talking about history and civics, as Earl was talking about. You know, the Amistad legislation. Let's get into that for a minute because, you know, I have a special interest, you know, in that. The Amistad legislation is something that has to be taught, that says, it passed in the Assembly not too long ago, right? Several years ago. And that says that African American history must be taught as part of, you know, history in all the schools in New Jersey.
That's right.
And every time I talk about this, it passed in the state legislature, everyone. In other words, you have to learn about African American history. If it is not being taught in your area, in your school district, you can sue the State Department of Education.
Right.
And I strongly advocate that.
Right.
Because of the fact that it is illegal for the Amistad legislation, African American history, not to be taught to the students.
Right.
Okay? And that's exactly what's happening. You know, every time we do a study about is it being taught? Is African American history being taught? Is the history of black Indians, Indians period, East Indians, American Indians, is it being taught? It's not. Okay? So people have to realize that if African American history is not being taught in your area, in your district, in your school district, you can sue the New Jersey State Department of Education. Okay?
Right.
And that's exactly what you should do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, probably the reality of that happening, of anybody be able to successfully bring a class action lawsuit against the Board of Ed is a long shot. But I think that if somebody were to be as tenacious about it, that they should do that, because it's clear that there's not an agenda to make sure that the Amistad legislation, Amistad curriculum is included in the Jersey curriculum. So it's something that's unfortunate that we can't get the history to include full American history, because it's not just about African American history,
Yeah.
it's about everybody's
Yeah.
history.
But everybody else's history seems to be taught, and African people from Africa with an African heritage it's not being taught. Period. Listen, I used to teach history in the school system,
Right.
and when I first started teaching, the slaves were happy and singing and dancing, on Massa's plantation. Okay, still in the history books when I was teaching in the 60s and 70s, it was ridiculous.
Right.
Right. I'm looking at the Shades of Truth Theater's Black Wall Street. That's going on someplace. It says let me see where this is. It's Black Wall Street. It's Saturday, February 22nd, as a matter of fact, here. It says patrons of Black Wall Street.
Okay.
That was when I think that happened in Oklahoma when there was a big massacre.
Mm-hmm.
Was it in Oklahoma?
Shades of
Black
Truth
Wall Street.
Theater presents Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
And this appears to be a play or a performance that is going to be presented by Cheryl Wide Presentations in Harlem Sugar Hill Beer. So it just happened to be a flyer here in the studio that my mother was reading.
And as a matter of fact,
we'll
I have a little more
people
information about it, too. It says here, in the heartland of America, there once was a black community paradise, more than 600 businesses strong. Among these were 21 churches, 30 restaurants, 41 grocery stores, libraries, schools, law offices, a hospital, a bank, a post office, 6 privately owned airplanes, a bus system, and 2 movie theaters, all within a 36-block radius. And it says here, too, that the year was 1921 in Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, a.k.a. Black Wall Street. I remember reading about that,
Right.
Our hidden history comes alive on stage. In fact, when I was, studying in school, in college, we learned about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is really very interesting.
This was a community that was destroyed after something had gone on involving one of the black, I believe, vets that had come home from the war. He was obviously wrongfully accused of something. And I think that he had gotten arrested, and some of the other vets went and got him out of jail, and that kind of started this altercation with the white side of this community. If I'm not mistaken, was a self-sustaining community. It was the black community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and as that says, it was Black Wall Street. It was a very thriving middle-class community, and the other community, which happened to be the Caucasian community, was not as well off. And when this issue happened, it caused this big kind of a riot and then it just spilled over into becoming a huge massacre where they actually dropped the bombs on this town, I believe. They had guys with airplanes coming from other counties and law enforcement individuals and they dropped the little, the bombs from some of these crop dusting planes on this community. So it was really a devastating thing, and a lot of it was because of the jealousy that the other community had for the black area, and they did what they do in so many parts of the United States.
And they've done this so many times, and
Right.
so often. There was I think, if I remember correctly, down in Wall Street, in Soho, that area. There was a
down in the
something,
Soho area, which is
in
different.
New York.
Which is different from Wall Street.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, but there was also a similar kind of situation, and I remember reading about that and reporting on that. I mean, it was history, so.
You're talking years ago?
Oh, years ago, sure.
That
years
was a
ago.
black community that was
Yes,
destroyed?
it was a black community, not a black community, but people who had money, and they were, white people in that area. This was during slavery and all that sort of thing, when people were, just trying to escape the South. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to be doing is when I get home tonight, I'm going to have this information for us by next week. We're going to be having Bill Katz on, who wrote Eyewitness News. And that book is so complete. Okay, and I will have that information next week because he talks about that area. He talks about what happened. He talks about the Black Indians, which is a story in itself.
Right.
So there's so much that has happened. There was that big thing down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That who was the a filmmaker who wrote about that? You know, about them, the homes down there being burned to the ground. Rosewood,
right,
remember
which
that?
was a similar
Yeah.
circumstance as Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it looks like we have 1 minute to end. If that's
Really?
correct.
We've been talking that much?
And we're at 5 minutes up on the hour. So I don't know why we got 1 minute to end and other people go all the way to the end of the hour, but okay. Okay. Justice Scalia. That's the end of the K. Thompson Live Show. She's cutting us off 5 minutes early. I'm just messing with it. My name is Eric Payne. Tune in next week to the K. Thompson Live Show here on the GoPro Radio Network. Blog Talk, get you. Never mind. And my name is Eric Payne. You are?
I'm Kay Thompson.
All right. See you all next week. Thank you very much.